Hello, I'm Dr. Tina Ziania from Human Longevity, located in the San Diego office. Today I have the honor of introducing Dr. Marie Pasinski. She's a Harvard neurologist, a brain health expert, and an author. We're very honored to have Dr. Pasinski present today and help us gain some knowledge on how to power up your brain game. She's an assistant professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School and a neurologist specializing in brain health and dementia prevention at Massachusetts General Hospital McCants Center for Brain Health. Dr. Pasinski graduated from Harvard Medical School and completed her neurology residency at the Harvard Longwood Neurology Program, including Brigham and Women's, Beth Israel, and Boston Children's Hospital. She is an author of Beautiful Brain, Beautiful You, and Chicken Soup for the Soul. Boost Your Brain Power. She's currently completing her third. Dr. Pasinski aims to inspire her audience to pursue better brain health. And today, by sharing her amazing knowledge, hopefully you will gain some insight into upping your brain game. And with that, I will give her the floor. Thank you, Dr. Pasinski, for being here with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Ziania. Hello, everyone. I am delighted to be with you today. There has never been a more exciting time to be a neurologist specializing in brain health. Over recent years, the advances in our understanding of cognition, neural networks, and brain diseases have been nothing short of revolutionary. The integration of cutting-edge neuroscience with state-of-the-art technology and artificial intelligence is expanding our knowledge at an unprecedented pace. These advancements not only enhance our ability to diagnose and treat neurological conditions, but they are also paving the way for innovative approaches to preserve and maximize brain health across the lifespan. Before we begin, I'd like you to take a moment to contemplate the incredible marvel that is the wonder of your brain. Weighing in at approximately 3 pounds, it is nestled within your skull and floats in a sea of cerebrospinal fluid for protection. Despite its modest size relative to your body, it consumes an astonishing 20% of your oxygen and calories. Comprising roughly 100 billion neurons, with each neuron forming up to 10,000 synapses or connections, your brain boasts an astonishing 100 trillion synaptic connections in total. It is the most complex structure known in the universe. Your brain is your essence, generating your every thought, emotion, action, and dream. It interprets your sensations, controls your movements, and is a source of your creativity and your individual personality. It is the repository of your life's memories, experiences, and knowledge. It is your most precious gift, and it's what makes you, you. My goal this evening is to inspire you to optimally care for and empower your precious brain. In the same way that plants flourish when carefully tended to, the same holds true for your brain. The way you care for your brain and the lifestyle choices you make every day matter. And it's important to know that your genes do not necessarily determine your destiny. For example, I care for identical twin sisters. One has advanced Alzheimer's, and the other sister is as sharp as a tack and is her sister's caregiver. Since we know that identical twins have identical genes, how come one developed Alzheimer's and the other one hasn't? The answer is epigenetics, an exciting new field of scientific study that demonstrates how our lifestyle choices and environment alter gene expression. Although the sisters have identical genes, the individual expression of their genes has been molded by the very different lifestyle choices that they have made over the years. In other words, genes don't tell the whole story, and your health is not set in stone by the genes you inherit. Studies show that we have much more control over our health destiny than we previously realized. For those of you who, like me, have a family member with Alzheimer's, my mother had Alzheimer's, I hope you find comfort and reassurance in this knowledge. If you are noticing changes in your memory, which many people do experience in midlife, please don't ignore it. Share your concerns with your care provider and get checked out. Many patients worry that they're developing dementia and are afraid to see a doctor, when in fact, there are many reversible causes of memory problems, including hormonal changes, poor sleep, stress, vitamin deficiencies, thyroid conditions, depression, anxiety, and medication side effects, just to name a few. It's always best to see someone, share your concerns, and get the proper evaluation and treatment. And finally, be proactive. Tonight, I feel like I'm speaking to the choir. As human longevity clients who have had the advantage of completing their innovative state-of-the-art assessment program and individualized medical consultations, you've already taken the first important step of understanding your personal brain health risk factors. By attending this webinar tonight, it's also clear that you're committed to maximizing your brain health. First of all, I'd like to clarify a few terms so we're all on the same page, because there's a lot of confusion between the definitions of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Dementia is an umbrella term for a loss of cognitive functioning that interferes with daily life, while Alzheimer's disease is one type of dementia. Under this umbrella of dementia, there are two main categories of conditions that cause dementia. Oops, there we go. First, there are the neurodegenerative diseases. These are diseases that are characterized by the accumulation of toxic proteins and the progressive loss of neurons in the brain. Alzheimer's is far and away the most common neurodegenerative disease. Other less common neurodegenerative diseases include Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's disease dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. That's the type of dementia that we see in football players from repeated head injuries. And that's just to name a few. This is not an exhaustive list. There are also many other conditions that may impair cognition and cause dementia, such as vascular disease, which decreases blood flow to the brain, toxins such as alcohol, lead, or carbon monoxide, nutritional deficiencies like vitamin B12, thiamine deficiency, traumatic brain injuries. There are infectious causes. In fact, any infection that involves the brain can impair cognition and lead to dementia. Examples include HIV and syphilis. Immunological or autoimmune causes, which is believed to underlie the brain fog and cognitive impairment in long COVID, or anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis, which was portrayed in the New York Times bestseller True Story entitled Brain on Fire, are examples. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. So there are many, many causes and types of dementia. So I now have a question for you. What is the most common type of dementia? I must confess, this is a bit of a trick question, and that's why your mics are muted. Kidding, just kidding. The answer is what's called mixed dementia. Mixed dementia means that when we look at the brain under the microscope, there is pathologic evidence of two or more diseases or insults to the brain causing dementia. The most common form of mixed dementia is the combination of Alzheimer's disease and vascular disease. It's like a double whammy for the brain, and sometimes it's a triple whammy. For example, if someone has vascular disease and they regularly drink too much alcohol, and then they have a significant head injury, It's possible that while none of these insults alone would cause dementia, in combination, they could cause enough cognitive impairment to meet the criteria for dementia. This is why when we think about brain health, we want to minimize all the factors that negatively impact the brain and foster an environment in which the brain will maximally flourish. So let's talk about the changes in cognition that we see over time in various scenarios. First, we'll start with Alzheimer's disease. The horizontal line of this graph shows advancing years, while the vertical axis shows cognitive function. As you can see with this downward curve, Alzheimer's causes a decline in function, in cognitive function over time. Alzheimer's begins with what's called a preclinical phase, which, as you can see, is marked at the beginning of the curve. During this phase, which may last 15 to 20 years or more, beta amyloid, the toxic protein that is the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease, begins to accumulate in the brain. However, people are asymptomatic. In other words, they do not manifest any symptoms. This preclinical phase is followed by MCI, which stands for mild cognitive impairment. In this phase, individuals begin to notice memory problems, but they are not significant enough to interfere with their daily life. On average, this stage lasts 2 to 5 years or more before progressing to the final stage of dementia, where we see a progressive decline in cognitive function over time. One of the things I'd like to emphasize about this curve is the long preclinical phase of Alzheimer's disease combined with the MCI phase offer a unique window of opportunity of more than 20 years to intervene and prevent dementia. In fact, this is where a tremendous amount of research is being focused. The goal is to identify those at risk of developing Alzheimer's in the earliest stages and employ treatments that prevent the downward spiral into dementia. In contrast, this next curve shows the change in cognitive function with normal aging. Here we see a mild decline in cognition over time, but it's not enough to interfere with someone's ability to live independently and manage their own finances and affairs. And finally, here is what we hope to achieve with a successful brain health program, which shows minimal, if any, change in brain function over time. The goal is to enjoy a healthy, robust brain throughout the lifespan. The key to fostering a healthy, vital brain is the miracle of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is your brain's remarkable ability to redesign itself and create new synapses and new brain cells throughout your life. It is the key to empowering your brain. Your brain is incredibly dynamic. Like a work of art in progress, it is continuously evolving. Every experience you have changes your brain. In fact, even as you engage in this webinar today, your brain is actively forming new connections. The brain you sign off with at the end of this presentation will be physically different than when you first tuned into this webinar. How amazing is that? That is the miracle of neuroplasticity. So how can you activate this miracle? The first way is to indulge in the new. Open yourself up to new experiences and new learning. Doing this triggers neuroplasticity in the learning and memory centers of the brain and keeps you mentally agile. Please be reassured that you do not have to jump out of an airplane to indulge in the new. And I have some other suggestions coming up for you. One of my favorite studies that elegantly demonstrates how learning a new skill sparks neuroplasticity is the classic juggling research done by Dragansky. The subjects consisted of volunteers who had never juggled before. Half of the participants were taught a 3-ball cascade juggling routine. The other half served as the control group. MRIs of the brain were done on all of the participants at the beginning of the study and at the end. What they found was that the MRIs of the jugglers showed a significant larger amount of gray matter, shown in yellow on the MRI scan. This is the area of the brain that is dedicated to the perception of moving objects. There was no change in the MRIs of the non-jugglers. In other words, this is a beautiful demonstration of neuroplasticity in action, how learning new skills physically changes your brain. So how do you indulge in the new? Take a moment to remember what your life was like when you were back in school. You were constantly going new places, meeting new people, and learning new concepts. Your brain was inundated with new experiences and new learning. You were continually forging the creation of novel synapses and neural networks while sparking the creation of new neurons. This was wonderful for your brain. It's important to realize that there is no physiologic reason why you cannot recreate that environment, no matter your current stage in life. To do this, open yourself up to new experiences and new learning. Step out of your comfort zone. Learn new skills. When was the last time you took up a novel hobby, sport, or interest? I encourage you to try something that sparks an underutilized part of your brain. For example, if your career draws on your analytical skills, an artistic pursuit such as drawing or taking up a musical instrument would be ideal. Embrace mental challenge, both at work and in leisure. Seek daily enrichment. Read an article, watch a TED Talk, or listen to a podcast on topics that are outside your usual repertoire. Use your memory. We've become so dependent on our electronic devices that we have literally forgotten how to memorize. Memory is like any other skill. The more you use it, the better you will get at it. Challenge yourself by memorizing phone numbers, directions, or grocery lists. One of my patients in his 70s took up acting lessons and was chosen for a lead role in a play. It was an incredible challenge for him to memorize all of his lines, but afterward, he said he noted a dramatic improvement in his memory and felt sharper than he had in years. I hope you will be inspired to indulge in the new and expand your intellectual horizons. Next is to move your body. Moving your body is simply one of the very best things you can do for your brain. When your heart beats faster and you feel that flush in your face from increased blood flow, the same thing is happening in your brain. This increased blood flow triggers a cascade of wonderful changes in your brain, including the release of numerous growth hormones such as BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. One of my colleagues refers to BDNF as miracle grow for the brain, and that's exactly what it does. If you sprinkle BDNF on a petri dish of neurons, they literally begin sprouting new dendrites or connections. Physical activity has been shown to fortify synaptic connections, enhance neuroplasticity, and measurably increase brain volume. And it specifically increases brain volume in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. This is especially important as the hippocampus is the part of the brain that ages the fastest and is the first part of the brain affected by Alzheimer's. As an added bonus, my colleagues at Massachusetts General Hospital recently found that irisin, a hormone released when muscles contract, decreases the toxic beta amyloid deposits that accumulate in Alzheimer's disease. So how can you take advantage of all these incredible brain benefits? It's simple. Move more. Here are some suggestions. Weave more movement into your day. Turn on some music when cooking and dance in your kitchen. Stroll around while taking a phone call rather than catching up with a friend over coffee. Meet up for a walk. Avoid prolonged sitting. Studies show that when you sit for extended periods of time, your cortisol and blood sugar levels rise, which triggers unhealthy inflammation in your body and your brain. By simply getting up for a few minutes and moving, you can bring those levels back down. Prior to reading this research, I used to sit at my computer for hours on end. I now have a timer on my desk, which I set for 25 minutes to remind me to take a break and move around. Be sure to include both aerobic and strength training in your weekly exercise. Both are important for the brain. Be creative. During the nights I was on call during my residency and I wasn't able to get in my usual workout, I would strap on ankle weights under my scrubs and take the stairs up and down from the patient floors to the emergency room. I must say it was a fantastic alternative. Kick it up a notch. Whether you are walking, lifting weights, or taking a flight of stairs, picking up the pace or intensity is great for your cardiovascular system and your brain. Make it fun, make it social. You're much more likely to stick with it, and spending time with others boosts the brain benefits. Lastly, discover the joy of movement. Has there ever been a time you've enjoyed moving your body? Maybe it was playing pickleball or going for a walk with a loved one or dancing at a friend's wedding. Whatever it is, try to get more of that into your life. Putting one foot in front of the other is nothing short of a miracle. Celebrate your body's ability to move in whatever capacity you can. Next is to mind your body. Optimizing your general health is vital to maintaining a healthy brain. That is because every organ system supports the brain. See your doctor regularly for checkups. Be proactive and stay on top of any potential medical conditions. Be sure to optimize your senses with regular eye and hearing evaluations. Pay special attention to vascular risk factors, including blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, and body mass index. Maintaining a healthy heart and proper blood flow to the brain is crucial, not only for preventing strokes, but also for averting cognitive decline. Protect your brain and prevent head injuries by wearing seatbelts and using the proper safety gear when engaging in sports. Invest in top-of-the-line helmets for biking, skiing, and other contact sports. Look for helmets that have MIPS technology. MIPS stands for Multi-Directional Impact Protection System, which incorporates a low-friction outer layer in the helmet that moves with impact. This decreases the risk of concussion and traumatic brain injury. Avoid falls. During midlife, the prevalence of falls increases significantly. There are many factors that contribute to this, including balance problems, arthritis, drug interactions, and a decline in muscle mass as we get older. If you are afraid of falling or feel unsteady, let your doctor know. Working with a physical therapist or trainer to improve strength and balance is an effective way to prevent falls. Having good judgment is also key. Avoid getting up on step stools, walk in well-lit areas, and always hold the banister railing going up and down the stairs. Beware of psychoactive medications and substances that can alter alertness, perception, cognition, and mood. This includes both prescription and over-the-counter sleep aids, which often contain diphenhydramine or Benadryl. Chronic use of these, as well as benzodiazepines such as lorazepam or clonazepam, have been linked to an increased risk of dementia. It's important to know that if you are prescribed any of these medications, do not stop them abruptly. Instead, discuss it with your doctor and only taper them under their guidance to avoid withdrawal and complications. Let's talk about cannabis or marijuana. Medical marijuana is generally considered safe and effective for certain conditions. However, concerns arise with recreational use due to the increasing availability and variety of cannabis products in local dispensaries. Different strains may contain varying levels of THC, the active ingredient, which makes dosing challenging. And for those with underlying mental health conditions, marijuana must be used with caution as it can worsen depression, anxiety, and mania, as well as trigger psychosis. Long-term heavy cannabis use is associated with cognitive impairment. So use your good judgment when considering marijuana use. While there is a lot of current exciting research on the therapeutic benefits of psychedelics such as psilocybin and its ability to enhance neuroplasticity in the treatment of mental health issues and substance use disorders, these should only be prescribed and used under the guidance of a licensed health professional. Regarding alcohol use, less or actually none is now considered best. I imagine many of you are surprised to hear this, and for those of you who, like me, enjoy a glass of wine with your meal, I am so sorry to bear this unfortunate news. It turns out that alcohol is actually a neurotoxin. In the past, it was believed that certain types of alcohol, especially red wine, was part of a brain-healthy diet. However, our understanding has evolved. Prior research suggesting benefits from alcohol consumption were flawed by a crucial factor. Alcohol is a luxury item. Those who can afford alcohol tend to have better access to health care, enjoy various health advantages, and are more likely to follow a brain-healthy lifestyle. In light of this new understanding, alcohol abstinence is recommended to maximize brain health. In addition, there's extensive research showing that alcohol consumption increases the risk of multiple cancers, including head and neck, esophageal, liver, and colon cancer. And there is also a very strong link between alcohol consumption and breast cancer in women. I therefore encourage you to abstain or significantly limit alcohol. Next is nourish your neurons. A brain-healthy diet should include the following. First of all, healthy fats. It turns out 2/3 of your brain is composed of fat. This is why it's critical to include healthy fats in your diet, such as olive oil and omega-3s. The diet should have a low glycemic index, which is a measure of how quickly foods raise your blood glucose level. Sugary and processed foods have a high glycemic index and should be avoided. In contrast, whole grains and foods high in fiber have a naturally low glycemic index. Foods high in fiber have the added benefit of fostering a healthy microbiome. The microbiome refers to the collection of microbes that live in your gut and directly influence your health, including your brain health. It should include lean sources of protein to help the body repair and regenerate new cells. And a diet low in salt is optimal to lower blood pressure. In addition, increasing evidence indicates that excess dietary salt promotes tissue inflammation and autoimmune disease, while a low salt diet has been shown to lower inflammatory markers. And finally, a plant-based diet that contains plenty of vitamins, antioxidants, and polyphenols is considered best for the brain. For these reasons, I recommend the MIND diet. The MIND diet is an acronym for Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. It is a combination of the Mediterranean diet, which is celebrated for its health benefits, and the DASH diet, which is designed to reduce blood pressure. It is considered by many the best diet for brain health. It's chock full of the proper nutrients to build a better brain and keeps your heart and arteries healthy. It also lowers blood sugar and reduces the risk of stroke. Studies show this diet slows cognitive decline and, when followed rigorously, can reduce the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by 53%. In addition, a recent study in the Annals of Neurology from Columbia University used what's called an epigenetic clock to gauge cellular aging. And they found that high adherence to the MIND diet was associated with slower biologic aging. One of the things I like about this diet is that it provides specific guidelines on food groups, which are as follows: 3 or more servings of whole grains per day, 1 or more servings of vegetables per day, other than green leafy vegetables, 6 or more servings per week of green leafy vegetables, 4 or more servings per week of nuts, 4 or more meals per week incorporating beans, 2 or more servings per week of berries, 2 or more meals per week incorporating poultry, 1 or more meals per week incorporating fish. Olive oil is used as the main cooking oil, and sodium is limited to no more than 1,500 milligrams per day. The MIND diet also recommends limiting 5 unhealthy foods, which include sweets, red meats, cheese, butter, margarine, fried and fast food, and pastries, and again, limiting salt to 1,500 milligrams per day. Know that the diet can be modified if you are a pescatarian, vegetarian, or vegan. You can find more details on this diet online by Googling MIND diet, and I encourage you to do that. Next is Get Your Z's. This is my kitty Leon, who, as you can see, likes to help me get my work done. He's so cute. Whenever I'm writing, he loves being there right by my side. There are 2 essential processes that occur during sleep. First of all, it's a time when the brain restores and cleans itself up. This is done by what's called the glymphatic system. While we sleep, the cerebral spinal fluid within which the brain floats literally washes through the brain, clearing away the toxins and metabolic wastes that accumulate over the course of the day. I recently had the pleasure of hearing Dr. Macon Nettergaard, who discovered the glymphatic system, demonstrate her work. And she showed this amazing video of the cerebral spinal fluid, which was marked with a tracer, pulsating through the sleeping brain. It reminded me of a washing machine. One of the reasons the glymphatic system is so important for brain health is because this is how toxic proteins, including those that accumulate in neurodegenerative diseases, are cleared from the brain. For example, beta amyloid and tau that build up in Alzheimer's are cleared away during sleep. Similarly, synuclein, which is the toxic protein that is deposited in Parkinson's disease, also washes out through the glymphatic system while we sleep. The second essential process that takes place while we sleep is neuroplasticity. It is during sleep that the brain learns and stores the information it was exposed to during the day. It is when new neurons are created and new neural pathways and synapses are fortified. So how to get your Z's? If only we could all sleep like a kitten. As we all know, getting a good night's sleep can be elusive. And while this topic could be an entire webinar in and of itself, here are some guidelines. Make sleep a priority. It's so essential to brain health. Your bedroom should be quiet, dark, cool, and comfy. Address sleep disruptors. Be a detective to try and determine what's keeping you awake. Common culprits include sleep-disordered breathing, such as obstructive sleep apnea, pain, frequent trips to the bathroom, medication side effects, menopause, mental health disorders, including anxiety and depression, and stress. Maintain a regular sleep-wake cycle. As Deepak Chopra once said, your brain would love to be in the military. Getting up at the same time every day and going to bed at the same time every night, along with having regular meal times and periods of physical activity, reinforces a robust circadian rhythm that allows your brain to function optimally. Beware of what's called social jet lag. Social jet lag is defined as circadian rhythm disruption that occurs when we keep an irregular sleep-wake cycle. Most commonly, this is caused by a mismatch between our work and social schedules. We tend to stay up too late and sleep in on our days off, only to be jolted back to an early morning awakening on the next workday. The repeated shifting of sleep times between workdays and days off disrupts the harmony of the circadian rhythm. For many, this happens week after week. This not only makes you feel poorly in the short term, in the long term, it can lead to a variety of health problems, including weight gain, diabetes, hypertension, mood disorders, increased susceptibility to infections, all of which add to the toll it takes on your brain. So maintaining a regular sleep-wake cycle is key. If you have tried all of the above suggestions and still struggle to get quality sleep, I'd recommend that you see a sleep specialist. Restorative sleep is one of the best brain health investments that you can make. Far and away, the most common sleep disruptor that I routinely see in my practice is stress, which brings me to my next recommendation. Discover your mind's true power. To me, one of the most important research studies of all time was from the Henry Benson Institute of Mind-Body Medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital that proved the existence of the mind-body connection. They enrolled subjects who had never meditated before and taught half of them a mindfulness meditation, which they practiced for 20 minutes a day for 8 weeks. The other half served as a control group. They obtained blood samples at the beginning and again in 8 weeks. Using a technique called gene expression profiling, they analyzed the subject's white blood cells. This is a sophisticated technology that determines whether genes are turned on or turned off. And while they did not look at all 20,000 genes, they focused on those genes involved in inflammation and cellular repair. There was no change in gene expression in the control group over the course of the 8-week study. However, when they looked at the meditators, they found striking changes. After 8 weeks of meditating, those genes that promote inflammation were down-regulated or less active, while the genes involved in cellular repair were all upregulated or more active. In other words, by changing the way you think for 20 minutes a day, you can literally reprogram the white blood cells circulating throughout your body. This is proof of the profound effect our thoughts have on our entire physiology. There are countless ways to meditate, and I encourage you to discover a practice that enriches your life. Even if you currently meditate regularly, be open to expanding your repertoire. Loving kindness meditation, also known as metta, in which you cultivate unconditional love and compassion towards oneself and others, is one of my personal favorites. Other popular practices include mindfulness, Zen, transcendental, body scan, guided imagery. Some practices, such as yoga and Tai Chi, combine movement with meditation. Prayer and contemplative walking are less commonly recognized, but nonetheless valid. Understand that there is no best way to meditate. There are simply different paths to the same destination. This is a photo from one of my sunrise meditations. My day begins with mountain biking to a nearby bluff that overlooks the ocean. It is my favorite place to meditate. A number of years ago, my son became a Peace Corps volunteer in Liberia. As you can imagine, there were endless opportunities for a mother to worry, whether triggered by a news event, a friend's remark, or my own ruminations. I would find myself caught up in a worry loop. As a neurologist, I realized that dwelling on worrisome thoughts was inadvertently increasing my anxiety by etching those stressful thoughts more deeply into my brain. This is because thoughts have a physical presence in the brain. When you think a specific thought, a defined circuit of neurons is activated. The more frequently you think that specific thought, the more ingrained it becomes. It's like a footpath. The more traffic it bears, the more well-defined it is. Once it gains prominence, you will more likely gravitate to that thought pathway in the future. Over time, this is how mental habits are formed, both good and bad. The miracle of the brain is that you can choose to think differently. By consciously replacing a worrisome thought with a positive thought, that positive thought pathway will be reinforced. With repetition, it will flourish, while worrisome thoughts will fade from disuse. In this way, you can literally redesign the infrastructure of your brain. The reason this technique works is because your mind can only hold one thought at a time. Go ahead and try to think of two thoughts at once. No matter how hard you try, it's impossible, right? This is because the mind works sequentially. By forcing yourself to think a positive thought, it is impossible to simultaneously be thinking a negative thought. In other words, you have the incredible power to physically rewire your brain. An easy way to force yourself to think of positive thought is by reciting it quietly to yourself. This became an invaluable tool for me when my son served in the Peace Corps. Every time a worrisome thought crossed my mind, I began silently reciting, "May you be safe, may you find joy, may you grow from this experience." It was transformative. When I was consumed by a worrisome thought, I felt helpless, anxious, and tense. In contrast, sending love and warm wishes to my son by repeating these phrases filled me with love and serenity. The key to mastering this technique is repetition. Like any other skill, practice makes perfect. Trust me, my son's 4 years in Liberia gave me endless practice. It's amazing to me how reciting this mantra became a mental habit, an automatic reply to a stressful thought. With time, whenever a worrisome thought about my son crossed my mind, I'd reflexively start reciting my loving kindness mantra. May you be safe, may you find joy, may you grow from this experience. Since then, I've added many additional loving phrases to my personal repertoire. It is fascinating to contemplate how this technique has beautifully rewired my brain. And the best part is they can be mentally recited anytime, any place, and under any circumstance. And I now invite you to design your own personal mantra. Consider the negative thought pathways that you activate most often. Decide upon alternative thoughts or short phrases that are calming and uplifting. It could be a single word, a short phrase, or blessing. After this presentation, take a moment to write these down. Resolve to repeat your personalized meditation phrases whenever you find yourself thinking a negative thought. In time, you will become more efficient at detecting negative thoughts, and effortlessly, your personalized mantra will come to mind. In the process, you will cultivate a beautiful new mental landscape. Once established, they are yours forever, 24/7. And just think, they are never more than one thought away. It's been a pleasure to visit with you today. I hope what you've learned has been beneficial. I would love to hear from you. You can contact me through my website, www.mariepasinski.com, or on LinkedIn at Marie Pasinski, MD. And now I look forward to taking your questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Pasinski. That was amazing, an amazing webinar and lecture. I learned so much from you. So some questions have popped up here. I don't think we're going to be able to get to all of them, but I'm going to choose a few of them so that we can educate our audience. The first one would be, are there any supplements you recommend for brain health?
Mhm. So the only supplement that I recommend is a multivitamin, a daily multivitamin. This is because there have been some good studies showing that is beneficial. In fact, there was a recent study from Mass General Brigham showing that it improved memory and slows cognitive aging in older adults. So while other nutrients, such as omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D, have shown potential cognitive benefits, it's really best to consult with your healthcare professional before incorporating them into your routine. And this is because there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And sometimes they can interfere with prescription medications you're taking, or they could have unintended side effects. And I also think it's really important for people to know to not be kind of, drawn in by these exaggerated and, unsupported claims for supplements that you see, on TV. If there was something, trust me, that did work and, did have an effect and was supported by good science, I would highly recommend it. But at this point, there really is not. So again, it's best to, to talk with your physician. And let me just say the other thing about supplements is that they're not FDA regulated. So you really don't know what you're getting, what could be in there. And as I mentioned before, you can take too much of a good thing. Recently, I saw a patient who had been taking a lot of zinc supplements. And it turns out too much zinc can actually lower your copper. And so she developed neurologic symptoms from copper deficiency. And it took her a while to kind of figure out, what was going on, that she had these symptoms. So be very careful with supplements.
Thank you so much. That was very, very helpful. Another question from the audience is some forgetfulness normal while aging? How can I distinguish that from preclinical dementia?
Mhm. That's a very common question. So as we get older, our memory isn't as sharp as it used to be. And the speed at which we process information does slow down. But I really don't worry until, it becomes significant. It starts to, you're really noticing it a lot, or family or friends are noticing it, or, if it's interfering with your daily life. But I think it's also important to know for someone who is concerned, by all means, see your doctor, get checked out. You can never be wrong getting checked out. And as we talked about, there are so many, many things that affect cognitive functioning, like menopause, vitamin deficiencies, not getting adequate sleep. There are just countless things. So it's a good idea, if you have any concerns, speak with your doctor. And also because worrying about dementia is not good for you. If you're constantly worried and holding that inside, that stress takes a toll on you as well. So seek advice, see your doctor.
That's great. That's a great information. On the subject of sleep, we have a person checking in asking what specific type of sleep and the length of sleep. For example, REM, light sleep, to ensure that you have the lymphatic cleansing. So how much time should they be sleeping and what type of sleep?
Okay. So what's most important is how you feel in the morning. People vary on how much sleep they require, and that it varies night to night. Some nights you may get more sleep, you may need more sleep, and the amounts of sleep, the different types of sleep, light sleep versus deep sleep can also vary. And so the question is, do you feel rested in the morning? That is the best indicator that you're getting enough sleep. And I think people have to be careful about obsessing about getting too much sleep or the right amount of sleep. Many people are wearing these sleep trackers now, and number one is they're not that accurate in terms of really, determining the amount of the deep restorative slow wave sleep versus light sleep versus REM sleep. And the other thing is, we can get so obsessed with our numbers that there have been studies showing that it really affects how people feel independently of how they slept that night. They did a study, telling people that, oh, they slept really well when they had it, and they felt great, and they had a lot of energy. They rated their energy levels as high, versus, if you tell them they didn't sleep well, then they just don't feel well all day. And this actually has led to a new diagnosis called orthosomnia, where it's basically stands for sleep tracker insomnia. I'm seeing a lot of patients who, are wearing different devices, sleep trackers, and they're concerned that their numbers aren't good. So rather than focusing on, those numbers, I would, again, see your doctor if you're not feeling rested in the morning, or you feel unusually tired during the day. Those are reasons to seek professional help. And I had mentioned in the talk that if you feel you're not sleeping well and you've tried everything, see a sleep specialist. The evaluation they can do with a formal sleep study, which involves wearing an EEG, a brainwave test, where we can really see the brain kind of fall asleep and what stages of sleep it goes through, and make clear diagnoses. And another reason that's so important is there's a lot of undiagnosed sleep apnea. People may not have the classic symptoms of waking up feeling short of breath at night. So if you snore, that is a risk factor for obstructive sleep apnea. But I've also had patients who, really haven't had any risks. We go ahead and we do a sleep study, and it turns out they have obstructive sleep apnea, which is a treatable condition.
Yes, that's wonderful. Great advice. How about some upcoming treatments or medications for Alzheimer's, or any treatments that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so I imagine most people have heard about lecanemab. It's the groundbreaking new treatment that we have for Alzheimer's. As a neurologist, for years we've been able to diagnose Alzheimer's but not treat it. And so it's exciting that this is the first ever treatment that's unequivocally been shown to slow the progression of Alzheimer's. And it's an interesting approach. Lecanemab is a class of medicines called a monoclonal antibody, which actually is designed to target beta amyloid, the toxic protein that accumulates in Alzheimer's. And the way lecanemab works is it actually binds to the amyloid and clears it from the brain. And it's also now being studied in patients with preclinical Alzheimer's disease, so that the people that are starting to accumulate amyloid in the brain, but that they don't have symptoms yet. And then there are so many potential treatments on the horizon. Donanemab, which is also a monoclonal antibody, is expected to be FDA approved any day now, which is also, it's a monoclonal antibody that removes amyloid from the brain. And this is shown to be more effective than lecanemab and less side effects. So that's exciting. And there are just a host of other treatments in the pipeline. They're beta secretase inhibitors. They target the enzyme involved in beta amyloid production. They're anti-tau therapies, which target tau, which is another abnormal protein that accumulates in Alzheimer's. A lot of anti-inflammatory drugs are being developed because we know inflammation plays a role in Alzheimer's disease, and research is being done to explore gene therapy that targets specific genetic factors associated with Alzheimer's. And then there are a host of non-pharmacologic treatments, such as transcranial magnetic stimulation or transcranial alternating current stimulation, as well as ultrasound stimulation. So I have to say that the future is brighter than ever in developing more treatments and hopefully a cure for Alzheimer's.
That's fantastic. Maya, thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know, do we have time for one more question? There's so many. So I apologize to all you amazing people that are watching Dr. Pasinski doing this excellent job for us here at the Human Longevity. I think maybe one more question. I'm going to just pick one, and I apologize. Maybe we can answer questions individually at another time. But the last one that I just popped up here, this is an easy question, I think. Do MRIs show amyloid in the brain?
So the way we detect amyloid in the brain is through PET scans. We have these PET amyloid scans, and that detects the presence, and it's what we call a biomarker for Alzheimer's.
Yes. I knew that answer, but I thought I'd ask for one of our clients. So I just want to thank you so much. This has been very informative. You're an excellent presenter. I'm sure you already know that. I've learned during this presentation. I hope all of our clients and patients here have learned from you, and hopefully they can send us some more questions and get those questions answered, since I couldn't reach all of the Q&A on the Q. There was a lot of questions. I think people are really interested in your talk and keeping their brain healthy for their longevity and health span. So thank you so much. I appreciate you and grateful to have shared this time and space with you.
Thank you. Thank you. The pleasure was mine.
Okay.
Take care now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.